Every time we take an action, we have the opportunity to assess the efforts that we are taking. So often we want to assess the results, and yet we always try to talk about assessing the overall efforts. We're going to discuss the challenges around that today and more on this episode of Today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom.
That was a pretty subdued.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure that we're on LinkedIn Live, and I had my doubts, but now it looks like it's doing what it's supposed to do. So I apologize.
Do you want to do over or no?
Yeah. Let me do. There you go.
Excellent. All right.
You live for that.
I do. How was your weekend?
It was good. The Ravens won. The Bills won.
Yes.
So we both have stuff to celebrate. Yeah.
Absolutely. Plenty to celebrate.
That's it. Yeah. The weather was great.
Yeah. I was in South Carolina and the weather was beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
After last weekend, if you remember last weekend, it was just rain and yeah.
I do. I was out in the rain both days last weekend.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's all right. It was good. It's 2 good days, even though I was in the rain.
Okay. All right.
All right, everyone. Good morning and welcome to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast. As you may know, if you've paid attention, or unless this is the first time, each day we have a conversation around a topic. This week's topic is assessing your efforts. And today we're going to discuss the challenges around doing that. And so as we have that conversation, if you have thoughts or ideas that you would like to share, please feel free to put them in the comments for whatever social media you happen to be following us on, whether this is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or
LinkedIn Live, baby.
LinkedIn Live, baby.
You rolled through those.
I try to beat your. So for those of you on the podcast, as I say that, Bob counts them with his fingers. I'm not 100% sure why. And
it's just one of those things I do.
It's just one of those. Just
maybe it's the ADD coming out. I got to entertain myself.
And so I try to go really fast to see if he can keep up with it with his.
You haven't tried really slow one day. That would be fun to watch.
But you told me people don't like to listen to things slow, and they put podcasts on like 1.5 speed. So
that's right. Okay. All right.
So that was just a thought. And who knows? Maybe one day I'll throw that in there. Okay. Keep you on your toes, waiting for that day.
Wouldn't it be keep me on my fingers?
Well, I don't think you want to be on your fingers. But keep you aware of whatever.
It's going to be a long show.
Yes. So we welcome your comments, your thoughts, and ideas because we know that it'll add value to our discussion. Might even completely change the direction that we take it. So please feel free to share that. And then at the end of the conversation, Bob and I each offer our one thing, our today's antidote. That thing we hope will help you when you're stuck, maybe today or maybe somewhere down the road, figure out how to take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. And of course, if you have an antidote, one thing that you would like to share today around the topic, please feel free to do that. Because we know when you share your value, you have the opportunity to help someone who might be desperately seeking for it. So we look forward to your comments, thoughts, and ideas as we progress through the show. Before we get to our conversation, though, at least around the topic, every morning we do our celebrations. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today, besides the fact that the Ravens won?
I was going to say, that's where I'm going. The Ravens won. It was good. It was a good day, and I got to watch a lot of football yesterday. I caught the end of the 9:30 a.m. game and right on through. Yeah,
Did you move off your couch except to maybe go grab food and a beverage?
I made dinner because I had a brother-in-law come over. And other than that, I pretty much was on the couch. I did some reading and a little bit of work on the couch, but there was football from 9. Well, I got back from church around 10:30 and it was 10:30 till about 11:30.
Fair enough. Yeah. Sounds like a fun day.
It was very restorative.
Ah, nice. Good.
How about you?
So, I'm sorry.
What are you celebrating?
Well, I would celebrate the Bills win. It was a pretty decisive victory for them with some exciting plays.
Yes.
And I have a call with someone that I've known for a while and done a little bit of work with a long time ago, which is how I first met them. And they reached out to me the other day and said that they've got some challenges going on within their organization and they just wanted to talk about it. And I'm looking forward to that conversation to see if I can be helpful. We've talked numerous times, and a couple of times they've even shared that there's some challenges going on. And I appreciate the fact that sometimes it's just timing.
Mm-hmm.
And while, you might be feeling the challenges for a while, it doesn't gotten to the point where you need to act for help or look for help. And so, it's unfortunate that they have to look for help, and I'm happy that I'm going to be here to at least see if I might be able to add some value and help them figure out how to take their next step. So I'm looking forward to that call this afternoon.
Nice. Can't wait to hear about it.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
So our topic this week, Tom, is assessing our efforts, which is never an easy thing. And we're going to talk today about why that can be challenging. Do you have some thoughts to lead us off?
Well, I think that,
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, I did. It's all right. You clearly didn't want to go first, so that's fair. I think, there's a couple of things that are I think there's kind of two key components to it. One is the time to do it, and I think so often we feel like we've just finished one thing, we've got something else we got to move on to, and there's probably another thing that's behind that. And so why would we do that? Why do we have the time, effort, and energy to go back on something we can't change? And, so many of us are so busy, we just have to keep moving on to the next thing. So I think that in and of itself creates one level of a challenge. Then I think the other part of it is just the mindset piece of it. Because if you don't get the results you expect, you're like, do I really want to go back and rehash this? And see, and which can lead, and I think this is one of the challenges, can lead to judgment on what we did rather than an opportunity to learn. And so I think, and then there's the whole idea of if it went really well, I go, well, why do I need to go back and assess it? There's nothing really to assess. Everything went the way we thought. We got the results we expected. And, it's almost easy to fool yourself into thinking that. And then just choosing to move on after that. So I think that there's some inherent challenges in those two camps that really make it difficult sometimes to really want to assess our efforts.
I like those. Time you brought up, which was on my list. How would you describe the second one in a couple words? I'm totally blanking.
Mindset, a little bit.
Mindset, okay. And then
or rationale.
I think the third thing is being realistic. I've had experiences like I think I told you Friday morning that I didn't feel like I had accomplished very much in the last month. And when I took the hour and a half to assess it, I was surprised that I got done a lot more than I realized. And so my criteria was off. And I think that's a challenge. What are we assessing and how are we assessing? If we've set the goal of, I'm going to make $1 million this year, how do you assess that? Because it's either I made $1 million or I didn't, versus the actions that go into it. And I think the more, for me, as I got more granular in assessing it, that's where the challenges started to go away, because they were, we did a good job when we mapped it out of these are the steps to take. If you're doing these things, you're going in this direction. And I think that's a really big challenge is what are you assessing? And can you be realistic about it in that moment? Because I know plenty of times I cut myself slack. Well, that came up and that got in the way and I couldn't do it. Or, Okay, so I was supposed to talk to 10 people today. I talked to 7, and the 7th knows 3 other people. So that's a 10. Come on. And I think that's really a thing that we do to avoid the hard assessment that really is what drives us forward. I think that's where coaching comes into play. I think I have a call at 11 this morning with my coach, and I'm doing some prep work. And I know one of the things with him is it's going to be straightforward. You did or you didn't. There's not well, I'm sorry, Bob. You're right, Bob. You had a busy week last week. Sunday, the Ravens game was on, and you spend the day what? No, this is what you said you wanted to achieve. Are you doing the things to get there? And I think that so often gets in the way. And I think we cover that up with time. I don't have time to do the assessment, because then if I don't have time, I don't have to do the hard thinking. And I also don't have to do the hard analysis and go, you know what? I'm falling short here. Or sometimes I'm doing better than I thought.
Yes. I mean, and I think another component to it is we don't know how to do it. So that becomes a challenge as well. It's like, what's the process by which we go and assess the efforts that we have taken? And I think that, the underlying thing that I don't think I sort of mentioned it, is that, again, it's about assessing your efforts, not about assessing the results. And I think it becomes very easy to assess the results, because that seems to be what, everyone is expecting. And so that seems to make the most sense of, well, why wouldn't we assess the results?
Well, it's also how we were raised, right? I mean, you went to school. No, I didn't get credit for writing 4 topic sentences. I got credit. I got an A or a B or a C based on the topic sentence at the top of the essay when it was turned in. There wasn't a, Bob, you really tried hard, or you spelled 100 words, but you only got 52 right. It's all result based in school. And sure. I think that conditions us that our life is result based. And when we start, and you and I, sometimes I feel like we're tilting against windmills, because people are like, what? You want me to assess my effort, not the result? But I didn't achieve that goal. Okay, but you took that really important first step.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that becomes one of the biggest challenges, is that how do you figure out how to move to assess in a way to move forward, not in assess in a way to judge. And I think the judgment is the easiest one to go to, again, because it's based on results. And of course, and I think why it's so challenging is everybody would be like, well, why would you not assess your results, or why take an effort if you're not worried about the results? I mean, and I don't think we're saying the results don't matter. They do have some value. They just are so often things that we cannot control or don't completely control. And so then it's really challenging. And I think the other thing too is, as we go back, is sometimes our priorities change. And so we go to evaluate, you could say to your coach, you know what, the work that I had to do was really important. And on Sunday morning, I chose that my priority was I needed a day. I wanted to take this day and just enjoy it. I don't get that very often. I had the opportunity to have, to do something else that, your brother-in-law came over. And so, maybe it's hard to find dates to do that. And so the opportunity to do that thing,
right.
And that could be your point to him, is my choice was that was a priority. I didn't realize that was going to be a possibility when I set.
Right. But I think we also, another challenge is we often find those things.
Of course.
It's so much easier to find the distraction than face the reality.
Sure. And I think and I think it's an important thing for us to own up to.
Right.
If we're that way, it's like, hey, you know what? And not to feel guilty about it. Right. I think that's the challenge, is you decide on something you want to achieve, or a goal that you have. And you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And that's with the best information that you have at the moment. Those things can change. And I think we beat ourselves up for realizing sometimes that priorities shift. And if we just
Although I think
own
we
that,
use it as an excuse. I do. I can always find a reason why I didn't do the things I was supposed to do.
well, okay, and
Much more easily than finding reasons why I did.
and that's a choice.
Right.
And I think there's something to own, to own up to that, is be like, you know what? And I think what happens is we try not to own up to it. We use it as an excuse.
Yep.
And so then it becomes like you beat yourself up. You're just making excuses again. No, actually, I made a conscious choice to do that. And I'm okay with that. I think that's one of the other pieces is just because you got results that you didn't expect or you changed your priorities doesn't mean that you're not, trying to achieve your goals. Because sometimes the timing of the goals is not, we can't always be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. Because we either forgot about things that we had planned or opportunities come up that we choose to take. And yes, could it be
challenges come up that we didn't anticipate?
Correct. Absolutely. So I think that it's there are plenty of challenges out there when it comes to assessing our efforts. Although I think that if we go back to the efforts that we assess rather than the results, so you could say, as you went back and re-looked at the decision you made, the action that you took, you could say, did I consider, all of the things? And we'll get in more this week about, some ways to help with the how side of it. And so I think it's just helpful that we remember what we're trying to accomplish and be clear on our priorities. I think those are the things.
Don't give away everything, Tom. We got 4 days to talk about this.
All right.
Come on.
It's getting carried away. I like this topic.
I see that. Well, then what's your one thing?
I think when I think about assessing your efforts and the challenges, I think the key one to me is that I'm not sure people understand the value of doing it. I think they feel like well, why would I assess my efforts? Why wouldn't I just assess the results? Because that's what matters. If I hold this big event and the goal of the event is to raise more money for my organization, let's say, isn't the only assessment that matters is how much money do we raise? And I think that's one of the things about the goals that we set, and we can talk about that more, is that what are the goals that we're setting?
I'm going to have to, I can see it's going to be a week of me stopping you mid-sentence.
You're going to hold me back all week.
So
anyhow, I think the challenge is understanding the value of assessing the value. I think that's the biggest challenge, is we don't understand the value of it.
Okay. I'm going to step back even further, and I'm going to say that we often don't make the time to even do the assessment. It really hit me Friday when I spent the time to really look at the last month. I was surprised at how much I accomplished. And I was surprised at how much had changed in that month in a way that I just didn't see. And I thought I knew exactly where I was and what I was doing. And suddenly it was like, whoa, this is a different landscape. So as I start another week, I have much more clarity around what can and can't happen because I have that last month of data to leverage going forward. And I think so often we just get into I'm just going to keep doing this over and over and over, and it spins and spins and spins, but it never spins the way we want to. And we don't take the time to try to figure out what may not be working the way we thought it would, or what is working really well. We just keep doing what we always do. It's Monday morning, I do this, and Tuesday morning, I do that. And I think taking the time to really step back and without distraction, explore it can be really powerful.
Absolutely. I appreciate
it. And I think, if you think of people who are successful as inventors, it's not the first version of something that's in the marketplace. Typically. How many times has SpaceX crashed, rocket ships before it got it really down cold? It's trial and error. It's, and science is so good at you document everything you do. and look at really closely. In fact, if you do research, I've done research, and they try to replicate your research, and you have to give them every single step so someone else can come behind you and make sure that what you say you did actually leads to the result that you're saying it leads to. We don't do that in business. We don't have someone come behind us and go, oh, wow, if you do email campaigns on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. every other week, yes, I did the same thing and it got me the same result. And I think that rigorous testing of things in science leads to discoveries both anticipated and unanticipated, like,
Sure.
oh, wait, if I change that one variable. And I just don't think we're as strategic and as diligent in business.
I would agree with that. All right. Well, those are our antidotes for today. What's yours? We'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas as you think about assessing your efforts and what are the challenges around that. So please feel free to share those in the comments. If you're listening to the podcast, you can always go to one of our groups and share our communities and share it there. If you're a LinkedIn person, go to the Renegade Success Network for Leaders. If you're a Facebook person, you can go to the Ring of Renegades and share your thoughts and ideas there, because we know when you share your value, it will have an impact on someone else. And sometimes you'll find others' value that can be helpful to where you are and what you're trying to accomplish. So we look forward to seeing you inside of those groups. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time, for our next episode of Today's Antidote. Go out and make it a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. It's worth it. Promise. Pinky promise.
Now you're making promises?
I am.
I like that. All right, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.